Welcome to Popternative, where we dive into topical discussions from the worlds of pop culture, social media, and sports. Here is your host, Peter Remoliotis, aka PD Beats.
Steven, so good to see you. Welcome to the show, man.
What's up, man? Thank you for having me, brother.
No problem. One of the things that I think is so incredible about this film is the balance of, it's a Transformers movie. So it's got the effects, it's got the action, but there's a really amazing grounded human story here. So I just wanted to know what the process was of that balance, because it was an incredible balance down the middle, 50-50, man. I really enjoyed it.
No, I think, some of that I definitely got to give it to the actors as well. They create that tone, you know what I mean, from the rip. Everything from Anthony Ramos and Dominique Fishback, both being sort of grounded in a very much New York ways and charming, where it's not too much over the top. But in terms of development, it goes from everything, man, from the design of the robots, making sure that they felt a little grittier. We're in New York, 1994, so giving them some texture and life. I didn't want them to be too poppy in color. I just wanted to make sure everything was sort of grounded. And then when it came to balance with action, the story kind of is within a story itself, where we start at are these like emotional character beats, these two characters who I would even say Optimus Prime even is grounded in some ways, because he's dealing with his own sort of agenda of trying to get his people back home to Cybertron. It's not here just yet. It's just really small. So I gave each character sort of the like intimate dilemma, if you will, something small that sort of grows out to something bigger once we meet. No spoilers here, but Unicron.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's interesting because I love what you just said, because it's so dynamic in terms of the process and the mindsets of making a movie like Transformers Rise of the Beast. It's going to be kind of complex naturally because there's so many moving parts. But for me, when I think of the Transformer films, it's the movie theater popcorn worthy movie, having a good time going in. Is it safe to say that despite kind of what you said about kind of what the the Transformers look like and the human elements, is it safe to say that like that mindset of we're making a Transformer movie, we're making a good time movie theater movie, was that kind of number one in your brain a lot of the time?
Completely. I mean, the film is taking place kind of like after Bumblebee, even in a timeline, right? But just listening to the audiences after Bumblebee, right? It was very intimate. It was smaller, if you will, and people sort of missed the action that we had in Transformer films. So I definitely brought that back. I definitely was like, all right, how can I implement my style into these new sort of action sequences? Everything from the car chases that we have in Peru in the Sacred Valley, fights we have on top of Machu Picchu, fights we have on top of a volcano. No spoiler alerts, but like we're everywhere with it. Mainly because I just want to test the robots, man. I want people to go to the movie theaters and enjoy it, but specifically, I was like a kid on set. I was like, what is the craziest thing I can do with these locations and with, cars and animals that transform into robots?
It's funny you mentioned the volcano because I wanted to keep it spoiler free, but that was something that came to mind too when you were saying that. Last question too before I wrap up. I just wanted to really ask you, because it's such a rich world, the Transformer world, the source material, the collectibles, the toys, the movies, the TV show. There's so much out there. And I feel like depending on what the project is, it depends what the relationship is. What is your relationship with the original kind of source material? Because at the end of the day, you have a lot to kind of go from, but also at the end of the day, you're making Transformers Rise of the Beasts. And it's its own thing in a lot of ways, but there's a lot of kind of things that existed before that can help you guide your way. So what is your relationship with the source material and the world of Transformers?
Well, I try to stay true to the mythology as much as possible, especially when it came to Beast Wars. I had some creative liberties with trying to have it all make sense, like them being there on Earth at the same time as the Autobots. But a lot of inspiration came from the animated film, like everything from Unicron. People are talking about it now, the exosuit, and those kind of elements came from like the first time I saw Transformers. So it was like, in order for me to tap into it and be kind of true to myself, I had to really tap into like the first time I ever watched Transformers, which I was a young kid in, the early 90s, and saw this animated movie. And I was like, I want to implement that feeling into this film. So the source material, it varies, you know what I mean? Like I'll pick up something out of the Sam Witwicky storyline-esque, Michael Bay verse type of vibe, or I'll just go from graphic novels. Like I think the graphic novels are sick, especially with the even the Japanese cartoons. Like, I don't know how many people watch those, but that has a really cool timeline. Their world is more expansive than everything we've been playing with in live action. So that's kind of where I'm tapping into these different planets with the sort of Japanese like cartoons, because they did that more than we did. So I guess to answer your question, I'm just a fan of it all.
Oh, I think with this world too, Steven, like the inspiration, it was endless if you think about it, right?
Yeah.
Like it was so so no, that's so great. And I can't wait for people to go see Transformers Rise of the Beast June 9th in theaters. Steven, it was an honor and privilege to speak with you. Thank you so much for your time, man.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube. Be sure to like Popternative on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.